Guardian, welcome to the Iron Banner. The relics you'll win here have been preserved through the ages, from a time when the Iron Lords watched over humanity. This tournament honors the old ways. We celebrate the combat techniques and the battles that built the city. Your role is simple. Just be what you are, a shining example to Guardians everywhere.
Saladin's young wolf.
So it's come to this, has it? You're making me do this thing, Bungie. Making people question if Rise of Iron actually happened, with mixed information, with lines that say things like Saladin's young wolf, and then not even have the guy look at us and know us from Adam from the previous games. No, that paints a very clear picture of where you're going. That shows me exactly the kind of crazy line of thinking you want to present to us, and it's a very, very hard thing for me to dissuade from at the moment. First off, I know I've been rather negative of late. I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to open my mind a bit more and get rid of some of my thoughts on this game and the position it's in. Being away from it as often as I have been with work and other things and stuff and things and stuff that's going on, it makes it a bit silly for me. Plus, closing of studios I love don't help. Hearing more and more news of companies going, oh hey, look at our loot boxes and scarves that cost $730 sure makes me love video games right now. Yep, sure does. Makes me care about them to the highest hills and back. Sarcasm and cynicism aside, no, wait, that's basically what this episode is. Bungie, let's have a sit down. Let's chat. Welcome to my parlor. Tea and crumpets is served in hell. So remember not long ago when we were given this information about a dialogue wheel? See, I thought this was going to be something that would expand outward to a point, to ask extra questions and get more of the story. For instance, how cool would this have been, where our Guardian and Asher Mir could have talked with each other, and if you were a new Guardian, you could have asked him a question like, who are the Vex? Why do I care? What's important about them? And he could have said something like, Guardian, weren't you the one involved with the Vex since we found them out on Venus? Well, if you need a refresher for some kind of shooting purposes, I suppose I can do that. He could have then proceeded to go on and on about talking about the Vex, giving some kind of backstory and making sure we were all on the same page. Instead, we get no dialogue wheel at all, and I have to question if this is in due part to something like bad journalism on the parts of GameStop and others, or if this is turning into another No Man's Sky, and please, don't let that be the case. Bungie has shown cause for alarm on several cases after having brought out Destiny 2, but the most egregious in my mind for the story's shortcomings so far has been their want to give a split story for old and new, but not following through with it. Let's be real here, this confusion is caused by Bungie not being on point with the way they explain their story. I hate talking about this stuff. I don't know why my mind keeps going back to this topic, but I need to get it out of my system somehow, and this is the best way I know how. This is me, unsure how else to function in a situation that is leaving me questioning why I'm playing this game, and as much as I do love the product in itself, I still just can't get over how much was said about Destiny 2 and how little is actually being done with it. I can't get past the lies that were said, even in the little bit of a lead up with the game's announcement, and I won't dredge up any more than I have already, with that dialogue wheel being a big piss off of mine. Meanwhile, we now have people going, did Siva actually happen? I'm going to leave these couple of scans speak for themselves.
Accessing node 9875A. File header, Siva project. Files locked behind Epsilon Theta encryption. A, D, and G. No decryption schema found.
This terminal was first powered on in the Cosmodrome during the Siva crisis. Maybe we shouldn't get too close. The Fallen need servitors to provide them with ether. Unless they've found a replacement, like Siva. Gosh, I hope there's no Siva on Titan.
The Iron Banner Warlock Bond also talks about Siva and Timur, and with our knowledge of it and it being a thing before, well, I think the point of whether or not Rise of Iron happened is a closed debate. I've seen this question and statement on Reddit. I've seen it brought up on my comments. I've seen it in my Discord, on my Twitter, on my community page. I've been infuriated, not for the people asking it and being curious, not for the people being in any way mindful that there might be something going on with old content, but infuriated at Bungie for not being able to get on the same page. Again, I know nothing about the ways of video game development. I'm keeping my ideas as tempered as I can. I'm keeping in mind that making games is hard and that there is a lot to go along with it. I just can't help but feel a 30-minute meeting could have sufficed to put my mind at ease. Oh, hey, live team, how's the Rise of Iron going? Well, we're almost done with it. Have some really cool things about the Iron Lords and Siva and stuff, so cool, sounds awesome, run with it. But don't you guys need to know for Destiny 2? Nah, sounds like retcon material. I can't imagine this is how this conversation would go. I can't. I have full confidence that those in charge would pull people together and talk about what Siva is, or at least, for the love of God, play the game that they make off and on. Heck, we know Deej does, or he likes to post on someone else's account, that mooch. Still, I'm having a hard time not going to the source for my anger and frustrations when I hear conversations and spark topics about, did Rise of Iron happen? Bungie, all of this could have been avoided with a few voice lines. All of it. I can completely ignore anything about Effort Heat and just move past her involvement, to just focus on the main story of Rise of Iron. Who is it that matters? Well, we have Tyra Karn, who was in Fellwinter Peak. We have Shiro 4, whom Cade talks about from time to time. We have Saladin, whom showed up again without his helmet on like he did in Rise of Iron. Well, that's all the major players. I mean, we could possibly make the argument that Saladin has forgotten us with being disconnected from the light, but this does seem to be a rather isolated incident considering the Vanguard still remembers us. Again, plays back to bad connections, or just showcasing how isolated this incident is. This plays back to Age of Triumph's Grimoire cards, bringing up Eris and her disappearance. It questions the validity of several Grimoire cards at this point if Rise of Iron has to also be questioned. Okay, so we're left to question it because Saladin doesn't recognize us then, I suppose. Well, that takes one voice line to add in, kind of similar to what we did at the beginning of the game. That would have been nice. A nod to our D1 journey, considering even Cade remembers us calling us Lord or Lady Guardian. I blame none of you and no one for this instance of incredibly weird storytelling, for not listening to these couple of scans of which there's no way to really track them and no place to really see it, for not knowing what Siva is, because the Grimoire is largely gone and out of the game, of not knowing who Saladin, Shiro 4, or even Tyra Karn were. This all comes back to the in-game storytelling that Bungie had promised us ages ago, hyping up how the game would be told to us, what we were going to see. Perhaps it's just a case of what I got sold and that's it. But when coming from Destiny and being satisfied in a weird way with how that game was put together and crafted, with how disjointed the story was, and how weird I feel about the low amounts of story we have now, I would have just hoped to hope that those important pieces could have been in a place to ensure that our characters, our story from the past, was looked over with a fine-tooth comb to set up this issue 1 that you have so wonderfully told us is Destiny 2, especially to build our legend. Right now, I'm just at a loss. I'm frustrated every time I sit down and look at a blank document. I'm frustrated trying to put things together within this story, but when I think back and go, well, Bungie hasn't showed me the same courtesy, why should I care too? I keep looking back on my journals that I made from this past year in February. I keep leafing through them. I keep reading over things I said when I was enthralled by this story, engaged in every page of Grimoire, enticed to think of the next mystery. Perhaps I just love it too much and I'm getting myself down because I was hoping for too much. All the same, I would hope that as I try to put my heart and soul into my work, Bungie will do the same in the future. If they don't, well, we'll see. I'm hoping after this I can just move on from these frustrations and this level of anger that I feel towards a developer that owes me nothing. It's their product and they can do what they will with it, even if it is just to see it float on water or just to sink. People come and go from games like this all the time. I'm hardly worried about that. Just don't mistreat a subsect of your user base that stayed around because we love the story you crafted. The fact we need to question how or if Rise of Iron happened, however, that's a major black feather in your cap. Be better for those that care and support you through thick and thin.